What is up? GoodMicWork back at you with your Monday Night Raw review for February 1st, 2016. Not a very good Raw tonight, actually kind of a bad Raw. This video probably won't be too long, not a whole hell of a lot to talk about as far as this show goes, but we are on the road to WrestleMania and we do have FastLane coming up in just a few weeks. So during this time of year I want to try to make sure I'm up here every week, and of course we did have a few other news stories break in the world of wrestling that I wanted to come up and talk about as well. One of those stories is actually what I want to touch on first. I just briefly want to wish Bret Hart well. News broke today right from Bret himself. He put it on his Facebook and Instagram account and announced to the world that he has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Tons of support came flooding Bret Hart's way. Even the WWE acknowledged it, not only on the Raw pre-show tonight, but they also talked a little bit about it on Monday Night Raw itself. And there's also an article up on WWE.com about Bret, wishing him well and showing some of Bret's greatest moments throughout his career. The support has been huge on Twitter from all of his fellow wrestlers. I was so sad to hear this news today because you guys all know that Bret Hart was pretty much my favorite wrestler growing up. I've really never been the type of fan that has a favorite wrestler or somebody that I idolize or hold at a higher standard than everybody else, but if I did, Bret Hart would definitely be the guy. Wrestling over the years, as we know, has been dealt so many tragedies. So many wrestlers and so many icons are no longer with us, and I've always felt happy that the guy that I idolized, the guy that I looked up to more than anybody, never had some horrible thing happen to him where he died young or whatever. I've been very proud of Bret that he's been able to lead his life pretty long and pretty healthy. Now, prostate cancer, very serious disease, but at the same time, treatable. I have no doubt that Bret Hart will come out of this thing just fine. Hopefully they caught it in time with the surgery and some treatment that he can battle this thing and beat it without too much trouble. A lot of people have lived long lives years after being diagnosed with this specific cancer, so I think it is a beatable type of cancer, and I wish Bret Hart well, and I will be sending positive vibes to Bret Hart every single day until he comes out on the other end of this thing. Moving on now to Monday Night Raw, like I touched on earlier, wasn't the greatest show. I didn't expect it to be, really. I mean, they're leading up to FastLane, and a lot of things that they have going on right now are a little bit confusing. I don't even know how I feel about this main event, this triple threat match of Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Brock Lesnar, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we get into Raw here. Raw opens up with Brock Lesnar. He appeared on the show tonight. I'm surprised Brock even made the trip, but he opened the show with Paul Heyman. Heyman cut the promo, hyping FastLane in the triple threat match. Goes on to talk a little bit about Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, and specifically Dean Ambrose, about that he's crazy, and that he used to ride the short bus to school, which I couldn't believe he said, and then almost immediately after that, Dean Ambrose's music hits, and he comes down to the ring to confront Brock Lesnar. Now, that's pretty interesting. Ambrose and Lesnar, we've never really seen those two interact before, and they got face-to-face, and Dean Ambrose was fearless, basically acknowledging the fact that he's not really all there and he doesn't really care what happens to him and he's afraid of nothing. And he got right in Brock's face and said a few words and then left. Brock never even laid a hand on him. Now, the main event of this episode was going to be Roman Reigns tag teaming with Dean Ambrose to take on the New Day. So you knew right after this opening segment with Dean and Brock that Brock would probably make another appearance in the main event. He would also make an appearance in the middle of the show, sitting backstage with Paul Heyman, and Triple H would actually come in to confront Brock. And he said, hey, I saw you out there earlier with Dean Ambrose. I'm surprised you didn't completely annihilate him. Are things getting a little bit soft in Suplex City? And Brock Lesnar takes offense to that and says, you'll find out at WrestleMania. So they're teasing that you could possibly get a Brock Lesnar versus Triple H match. Now, before we start getting into the rest of Raw and the main event, this is the type of thing I'm talking about with WrestleMania 32. I'm a little bit nervous about this triple threat match at FastLane because I mean, I'm happy that Dean Ambrose is getting the opportunity, don't get me wrong. I'm happy that he's right up there in this main event situation and storyline going into WrestleMania, but it almost seems like he's out of place. And Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, after the build-up to the Royal Rumble, where they had that Monday Night Raw, where Brock F5'd Roman Reigns, and you knew that they were going to have some sort of a big confrontation in the Royal Rumble match itself, and then it never happened. We never even got that. It looked like Brock was going to move on to a feud with the Wyatt family, since they are the ones that eliminated him from the Royal Rumble to begin with. But then Stephanie announces the main event of FastLane is a triple threat match between those three guys, and the winner is going to move on to face Triple H at WrestleMania 32 for the WWE title. Now, this is, to me, where it doesn't make any sense. If Triple H and Stephanie are so hell-bent on getting the title off of Roman Reigns, they succeeded at doing that at the Royal Rumble, why would you turn right around and give him a title shot? If you don't want him to be champion, just sweep him under the rug or say, hey, you got to start from the bottom again and work your way back up if you ever want to get another shot at this. To put him right back in the main event of another pay-per-view and a chance to wrestle for the WWE title at WrestleMania, what sense does that make? And then you think of the two guys he's got in there with him. One of them is Dean Ambrose, who I don't think Triple H would be that concerned about, but the other one is Brock Lesnar. It almost seems that Triple H, with all this power that he has, is purposely putting himself in a no-win situation. I don't think he wants to face either one of these guys. Now, the guy that they hate the most is Roman Reigns, so does that mean Triple H is going to be happy if Brock Lesnar wins the match? Triple H doesn't want to face Brock, and I don't know if the fans want to see that either. We got 3 Triple H versus Brock Lesnar matches. I think that was enough. So for another one to turn around and main event WrestleMania just a couple of years later, I don't think that's a really good main event to sell the pay-per-view on, but I still think it might be a tiny bit better than Roman Reigns getting the title shot against Triple H and winning the title and the fans booing the shit out of it. So far, I'm a little bit nervous about WrestleMania, but it seems like we are every year. WrestleMania 30, of course, the whole debacle with Daniel Bryan, and the fans were shitting their pants and losing their mind until just a couple of weeks before the show when Bryan was inserted into the main event. And then last year as well, a lot of us were worried that WrestleMania 31 didn't look that good on paper, but it turned out to be a fantastic show. So I'm not going to bury the WWE and the WrestleMania plans just yet. I know they have plenty of time to turn things around, and once FastLane comes and goes, then we're really going to have a good idea of what direction they're going in. But if you ask all of us right now, I think we're all in agreement that Roman Reigns will probably come out of this match at Fastlane as the winner, because the whole storyline that they set in motion last fall, you know, with the Survivor Series and TLC and all the shit going on with Triple H and Roman Reigns, you'd think that this is going to culminate at a match at WrestleMania. And you would also think that they wouldn't go through all that shit with Brock Lesnar and the Wyatt family if they weren't going to make any kind of a match out of that. So you got to think that Bray will have something to do, possibly in the main event, costing Brock the match somehow, leading to their match at WrestleMania. Then you set up Roman Reigns and Triple H, and then I don't know where that leaves Dean Ambrose, but he still is Intercontinental Champion. And if he doesn't win this match, which he likely won't, he can just move into an Intercontinental title feud with someone at WrestleMania, and that should be great. Unless they threw the ultimate swerve at us and actually had Dean Ambrose win this match at Fastlane, I wouldn't have any problem with that, because at least that would be surprising, and at least that's something that the odds are not saying are very likely. Dean Ambrose really doesn't have a shot in hell of winning this match if he's in there with two guys like Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. So if they were to put Ambrose over in this thing, that would definitely do a pretty good job of shocking the fans and myself. There's also the slight possibility that maybe a bombshell angle gets dropped at Fastlane. Maybe there's a heel turn of some kind. Maybe Ambrose goes heel and turns against Roman Reigns and costs him winning the match, and Brock ends up winning or something like that. Then you got a match between Ambrose and Reigns at WrestleMania with no title on the line, and then Brock works with Triple H. But like I said earlier, Brock and Triple H wouldn't make any sense. Those guys worked enough. And then where would that leave Bray Wyatt? So if they turn somebody heel, I don't know who it would be. I wouldn't think it would be Roman Reigns at this point. I think if they were going to do something like turn Roman Reigns heel, they need to save that for WrestleMania. The fans are booing him anyway. You know, what if they figured out a way to turn him heel at WrestleMania? I don't know how they would if he's working with Triple H. And WWE has such big plans for Roman Reigns as a mega babyface and the marketing merchandise machine that they want him to be. Turning him heel isn't something I see the WWE doing. But if they want WrestleMania to be memorable and they want the fans not to shit on it, they're going to have to do something. So far, a little bit nervous. You know, you got to wonder where everybody stands for WrestleMania. What's Undertaker going to do? John Cena, of course, is out with an injury now. That was the likely opponent for The Undertaker, so who does he work with? Maybe he just comes back to have an appearance in a match. Maybe it's a tag match with him and Kane fighting off somebody. Maybe Brock and Taker team up to do something. I don't think that would happen. Brock's got to be in a match. You know, the roster is weak enough as it is. You don't need to take Brock and Taker and put them in a tag match, but, you know, maybe they could do something like that to take on the Wyatt family. I have no idea. But I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't just a little bit concerned about the card for WrestleMania, because I've said this for the past 3 years in a row. I've said if they go through with what we think they're going to do at WrestleMania, it is going to be a catastrophic mistake. Now, luckily, the previous 2 WrestleManias, they've swerved us. They put the belt on Daniel Bryan at the last minute. Seth Rollins came out last year and cashed in the Money in the Bank. So maybe they can do something this year, but there is no Money in the Bank champion. So if they do just have the match between Roman Reigns and Triple H, I don't know what they're going to do in that match other than have a straight-up finish and having Roman Reigns finally beating Triple H and winning the title. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see The Rock tied into this either. He's going to be at WrestleMania. He's announced that. He was on Monday Night Raw last week. So The Rock being involved is also very likely. He could be at ringside with Roman Reigns to add some support. But as we saw last year at the Royal Rumble when The Rock came out to kind of give Roman Reigns that boost from the crowd, it didn't work. They still booed their asses off even with The Rock out there. So if you put The Rock in Roman Reigns' corner in the match with Triple H, you know, I don't know if that's really going to help the fans not boo him if he wins. Unless, however, they did something after the match. Maybe after Roman Reigns defeats Triple H and is in the ring celebrating with The Rock, maybe The Rock nails him with a rock bottom. And he says, I want a shot at that title. I will see your ass at SummerSlam. And maybe you get The Rock and Roman Reigns for the title at SummerSlam. You know, and the crowd would probably go apeshit for that. If The Rock turned on his family member like that, I'm sure the Usos are going to be in the ring. Everybody that the WWE has in that giant Samoan family will probably be in the ring celebrating with Roman Reigns. If The Rock were to do something like that and turn on him, you know, who knows? That might be a little bit interesting. Rock going back to being that Hollywood douchebag heel? Why not? He was already rude and crass and inappropriate enough last week when he's saying all that shit to Lana and some of the other things that he did. A heel Rock is something that I could actually see. As far as the main event of Monday Night Raw goes, let's go ahead and skip to that. It was Reigns and Ambrose, predictably getting the victory over New Day. It was Kofi and Big E. Xavier was on the outside with the fucking trumpet. Paul Heyman was on commentary, and you knew once you saw Heyman there that Brock coming out was an inevitability. He was going to hit the ring and probably lay out Dean Ambrose, and that's exactly what happened. As soon as the match was over, Brock Lesnar's music hit, and Reigns and Ambrose are standing there ready to take this beast on by themselves, and then the New Day comes back in from behind and attacks them and gets him down, throws Roman Reigns outside of the ring. He's distracted fighting with Kofi or something, and then Brock slides in, picks up Dean Ambrose, and nails him with the F5, and the show goes off the air. So that's it. I did like the interaction tonight between Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar. I suppose if Brock does not wind up working with Bray Wyatt, that maybe they could do something with Brock and Dean at WrestleMania. I'd be fine with that as well. Maybe having Dean Ambrose in a match with Brock similar to the way CM Punk worked with him at that SummerSlam. I thought that match was really good. So, you know, you never know. Putting Dean and Brock together, Dean can just be the crazy psychopath, loose cannon that doesn't give a fuck what happens to him and can eat as much pain as Brock can dish out. Even though he's overmatched and even though he has no chance of winning, he doesn't give a shit. He's fearless. They can go in that direction, and I think the match could be really good and really fun, especially if there's some sort of a stip involved, you know, between those two. But, you know, I see Dean Ambrose as the Intercontinental Champion most likely doing something for the IC title, because he's going to be the Intercontinental Champion coming out of FastLane. I don't want to see the IC title change hands on Raw leading up to WrestleMania. If it's going to change hands at all, it needs to change hands at WrestleMania. So, you know, then you got to wonder is what Dean is going to do. Is it going to be a multi-man match? You got Kevin Owens, you got AJ Styles, you got a lot of great guys on the roster right now that could be contenders for that title. Is it fair to put Ambrose in the ring with just one of them? Last year they did the big ladder match. I don't know if I want to see that either. I don't want to see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and Ambrose and AJ and all these great workers in one ladder match. Ziggler probably. I'd like to see them all do something individual, and I would like to see some really good one-on-one in-ring matches on this show. So who Dean Ambrose works with at Mania for the belt is anyone's guess. But whatever happens, I hope the IC title and the US title are well represented at WrestleMania. So give me your take on it. Where do you see Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and Dean Ambrose, Triple H? Where do you see all these guys landing at WrestleMania? What kind of matches are they going to be in? Do you feel like I'm on the right track as far as my line of thinking goes? Or do you have some other ideas? You know, right now, it's all speculation. I'll briefly touch on now the rest of what we saw on Monday Night Raw. We saw Kalisto get a count-out victory over Rusev with Alberto Del Rio on commentary. They also announced that Kalisto and Del Rio would be working again at FastLane for the United States title. Now, this is a situation where my early prediction is I see Del Rio winning this belt back. The Usos also got a victory over the ridiculous faction of the Social Outcasts. Now, Bo Dallas was not there, neither was Bray Wyatt. The story broke earlier on today that Blackjack Mulligan, who is a family member of both of those guys, it's their grandfather, he was hospitalized, and apparently it's pretty serious because they sent Bray Wyatt, Bo Dallas, and their father, Mike Rotundo, who's an agent backstage, they let them all leave and go to the hospital to be with him. So that's a very deep and tight-knit family with a lot of wrestling tradition in it, and I want to wish Blackjack Mulligan all the best. My thoughts are with you and your family as well. Speaking of Bray Wyatt, since he wasn't on the show, the rest of the Wyatt family was. Big Show took on Eric Rowan. for some reason, and the Wyatts all attacked him after he beat Rowan and completely beat the shit out of him and gave him like a spine buster on the stairs outside of the ring. I'm not sure what this is leading to. I don't know if it's going to be Braun Strowman versus Big Show at FastLane or maybe even WrestleMania. Hopefully it will be a FastLane match. I don't want to see two elephants fight each other at WrestleMania. I didn't enjoy the Ryback-Mark Henry match a couple of years ago. I kind of don't like seeing that. I'd rather have these guys in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Big Show can be in there to defend his crown, and Braun Strowman could be a likely favorite to win that thing. I thought Brock was going to show up. You got to wonder if any of the storyline plans were rewritten tonight after they sent Bray Wyatt home, because Brock, you know, you got to think he's got a bone to pick with the fucking Wyatt family. You know, they eliminated him from the Royal Rumble. What the fuck? Why is he not furious? Why is he not going out there and ripping their fucking heads off? I thought for sure he was going to come out there and save the Big Show. But I guess they're just putting that on the back burner, and they're going to pretend that the Wyatt family and Brock Lesnar never had an issue until Bray Wyatt decides to show his face again and set up his Mania match with Brock, assuming that's what actually happens. AJ Styles was back on Raw this week. He was a guest on Miz TV. Ugh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I said on Twitter that this is like a turd interviewing an ice cream cone, and I got to give The Miz a ton of credit. He is doing a fantastic job of making me hate his guts. What a great heel he is. I cannot stand his look. I cannot stand his attitude. I cannot stand the things that he fucking says on the mic. He drives me so goddamn crazy. I used to support The Miz years ago. I thought the WWE fans should give this guy a shot. The WWE is trying to make someone other than John Cena. All the fans were shitting on him in 2011. I was the one saying, okay, hold the phone. Let's at least see how he does. And he didn't do very well. He fucking sucks. I can't stand the guy. But it doesn't take away the fact that he's a good talker and he can definitely get under your skin. And they did the whole thing. You could see this coming. I don't know how many times Brother Love or Rowdy Piper did this. But they do the interview where you ask the guy a question, and then as soon as he goes to respond, you pull the microphone away. That's what they did, something that they've done 100 fucking times. Miz has AJ Styles out there. He comes out there to a great ovation, of course. Sits in the ring, and then The Miz starts going on and on about how he mentored Daniel Bryan, and if it weren't for him, Daniel Bryan would have never reached that success, and AJ kind of reminds him of Daniel Bryan. Just a little tiny seed planting there. I know there are some reports that are saying that WWE doctors will never clear Daniel Bryan. I really hope that's not true. I really hope the WWE is doing their best to work the fans and make them think that there's no chance of Daniel Bryan ever coming back, and then they nail us right in the face with a surprise return. So just by Miz dropping Daniel Bryan's name in AJ Styles' presence, you never know. You could still see it at WrestleMania. That would be my number one match that I would like to see. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. Fuck titles. Fuck everything. Just make that match happen. It would be awesome. So maybe, just maybe, we still have that on our future. But maybe not. Daniel Bryan might never come back. I'm fine with them slowly working AJ Styles in. I would have much preferred to see a match, but instead, he gets the Miz TV segment where he finally, he's just sitting there going to snap eventually. Miz just will not let the guy talk at all. He's had 2 interviews in the WWE, and he's spoken 5 words. Remember the week before when he was backstage with Renee Young, and Jericho interrupted him. So AJ has barely had a chance to speak. They were even calling him the rookie redneck. And AJ does have that southern accent, so maybe WWE. You know how Kevin Dunn is and some of these fucking dickheads working in management and production. Maybe they don't like AJ's voice. Maybe they don't like the southern accent. Maybe they want to limit his talking. But, you can't do that. This is professional wrestling. You got to let these guys talk. Hopefully AJ will really be able to come out of his shell once he starts working a steady program with someone. This is going to be a mini feud. They are going to have a match. They announced a little while later in Monday Night Raw that because of what happened on Miz TV, AJ eventually getting fed up and just attacking The Miz and beating the complete fuck out of him, these 2 guys are going to have a match on SmackDown on the USA Network on Thursday. And Chris Jericho is not done with AJ Styles yet either. He did an interview later on Monday Night Raw backstage where he said he would be watching the match. So you got to think AJ and Jericho will probably wind up working again at FastLane. Hopefully it ends there. I love Jericho. I love that he's there to help get AJ over, but don't let it stretch out too far. I almost think Jericho might beat him at FastLane, and then they'll have a rubber match. Hopefully that rubber match won't be WrestleMania. It'll be Monday Night Raw or something like that. But, I hope that Jericho and AJ wrap up their business before they get to WrestleMania. Let's see, what else did we get? Oh, Brie Bella, Brie mode. Holy shit, she got a victory. Yes, a victory. She beat, defeated, pinned Charlotte, the Divas champion. Brie Bella has been reduced to a Barry Horowitz position. She jobs every single fucking week on Monday Night Raw. And here she is coming out there beating Charlotte in a non-title match. Now, this is set up by the fact that Nikki Bella has undergone neck surgery, as they've been reporting on their website and Raw and Total Divas or whatever the fuck else. Brie Bella is doing a backstage interview talking about Nikki's convalescence and how she's feeling, and then she's interrupted by Charlotte, who basically comes in and takes credit for the injury that Nikki Bella suffered and said, you know, it's funny, after I beat her at Night of Champions and then beat her again at Hell in the Cell, she goes down with this injury, so I guess it's really because of me that all this happened. So it's kind of interesting the way the fans, I mean, Nikki Bella is so universally hated by everybody, and Charlotte is so universally loved, and now, you know, they're switching roles. Charlotte's going to be the heel, and Nikki is probably going to come back as a babyface. To me, I think the speed that all the storylines tend to go in the Divas division, it was a little bit early to have this segment and this match, because if they're trying to set up some sort of a return for Nikki Bella, this could be months off. She might not be back for 6 months, 7 months. By then, Charlotte could be a fucking face again. So, you know, to me, it was something that was done a little bit too early. I think they just wanted to acknowledge that the surgery just took place, and they had pictures, and they wanted to talk about it, and they wanted Brie to say a few words, and then she had the match with Charlotte. But they should have waited until Nikki was closer to coming back before they had this match, because now, if Nikki comes back, unless Charlotte and Brie are still working together by that point, the fans are going to forget all about this early segment and match that they had tonight. It'll be interesting to see, though, when Nikki comes back, if they're actually able to get her over as a babyface. Speaking of divas, Sasha was also on Raw tonight. She came out to cut a promo before her match with Becky Lynch, and she has recently severed ties with Team Bad, which I am thrilled about, because I thought that's the dumbest faction and the dumbest female group in the WWE. What a horrible, generic type of fucking name and whole idea. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I was so glad that Sasha is now broken away from that ridiculousness. Naomi and Tamina, though, aren't taking it lying down. They confront her at first to congratulate her and wish her well on her, you know, singles endeavor, but they stuck around for her match and then ended up attacking her. And then Becky and Sasha team up, having just been opponents, to fight off the remaining members of Team Bad. So the divas are just flipping around all over the place. I can't tell who's heel, who's babyface, who's friends, who's not friends. Just a few months ago, we had 3 united factions, PCB and Team Bad and Team Bella and all this shit. Now it's a complete clusterfuck mess. I don't know what's going on, but I do know that I like Sasha, and I do know that I like Becky, and I do know that I like Paige and Natalya and Charlotte, and the Divas division is pretty solid. Remember, you know, 5 or 6 years ago when the Divas division was looked at as a joke and the TNA Knockouts division was viewed as the superior women's brand? Boy, have times have changed now. I recently watched a Botchamania with a Divas Knockout Battle Royal or something. It was one of the most awful and embarrassing things I've ever laid eyes on in my life. Horrible. Staying on the subject of divas and knockouts, Tyler Breeze had a match with Titus O'Neil. I'm just kidding. I'm going to lay off the Tyler Breeze jokes, because I know that he's getting a severe D-push right now. For some reason, the WWE, a mere weeks after they brought him in, decided that they want to put the brakes on anything they had planned for him. The story goes is that Vince McMahon is the one calling the shots on this. He doesn't like Tyler Breeze, or whatever WWE wanted to do with him, Vince McMahon has vetoed, and he just will not allow the guy to get pushed. And I did mention in one of my previous commentaries that it's one of the things that I hate the most about WWE and Vince McMahon is that these great workers, these hard-working young men and women who work so hard to get there, can be derailed simply because the owner doesn't like you for some reason. And I think that's just horribly fucked up. And there will be a time when Vince McMahon is gone that I think the WWE will get better with shit like this. So whatever Vince McMahon has against Tyler Breeze, I have no idea. I don't like Tyler Breeze only because I think his gimmick is ridiculous, and it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. I would almost take Fandango over him, and I hated Fandango just as much as I hate Tyler Breeze. But it's just the gimmick. The guy in the ring is phenomenal. No pun intended, AJ Styles. I think Tyler Breeze is an awesome worker, and maybe under a different gimmick or a little bit of a repackaging, you know, he could be someone closer to a AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan or Dolph Ziggler type of level. But with this fucking gimmick that he has, he's a goddamn joke. So they're going to have to do something with him. I mean, what are they going to do? Just keep him on the roster to work dark matches and superstars matches and jobbing to people on SmackDown and shit like that? Sooner or later, they're either going to have to send him back to NXT or just come up with something different with him. I don't want to see him in the social outcasts faction, you know. I think Tyler Breeze needs to be completely repackaged. The selfie stick, the mirrors, the furry boots, all that shit is just awful, and I think it completely needs to change. That guy is too good of a wrestler to have that ridiculous of a gimmick, and I hope that this massive D-push that he's suffering from does turn into a push one day in the future. Kevin Owens and Dolph Ziggler also continued their issues tonight on Monday Night Raw. These guys are working together all the time. They had another match, and you kind of had a feeling that Ziggler was going to win this one. FastLane is around the corner. The U.S. title match has already been announced. The Intercontinental Champion is tied up in the main event, so there's no belts to worry about. So whoever these guys are currently working with is probably going to be their opponents at Fastlane. That's why I expect to see Jericho and AJ, and we're probably going to get a Dolph Ziggler and Kevin Owens match. Now, these guys are trading victories back and forth, so you got to think they might put a stipulation in this match. Maybe the winner becomes the number one contender of one of the two secondary titles. Maybe they have a 2 out of 3 falls match. Maybe they have a 30-minute Iron Man match. I see something like that happening at Fastlane between the two of them. And if it does, I'm fine with it. A lot of fans are like, oh, we've seen Kevin Owens and Ziggler so many times. Who cares? They're both awesome wrestlers. I could watch them work every day. As far as what else we saw on Raw, not much. They did do another segment, which I think they did last week too, that I never talked about, with Goldust and R-Truth. It reminds me what Goldust and Booker T did all those years ago. What year was that they were tag teaming and doing all that funny shit backstage? Like 2003, maybe 2002? It almost seems like a repeat of that. I think they were in the bathroom or something tonight, weren't they? Wasn't Goldust in the fucking bathroom stall? I don't know. I was only kind of half paying attention to it, but it was definitely funny, and I like when Goldust did that thing where he bites or kisses your face, and R-Truth kind of backed up like, what the fuck? So having R-Truth, a funny guy like that, reacting to the goofiness of Goldust is fun comic relief for WWE Raw. It was 13 years ago. It still is now. So these guys might actually form a tag team and start working together. If they do, yeah, I'm fine with it. They also did a real nice piece on Mark Henry for Black History Month. Of course, today is February 1st, and WWE, I'm pretty sure they acknowledged Black History Month the past couple of years, and they would do a little piece on a very successful black wrestler once a week during Raw during the month of February, so it looks like they're going to do that again. So that's it for me for this week. I'm going to get out of here. The WrestleMania Memories commentary that I've been talking about is underway. The production is about halfway done. I'm shooting for a March 1st upload date. That'll probably be, I think that's a Tuesday, so it'll be a day after a Monday Night Raw. So somewhere in there, it could come a day early, could come a day late, but I want to have the commentary uploaded a full month before WrestleMania, so I think March 1st is a really good target date. It's coming along nicely. It's going to be long, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be 100 times better than that SummerSlam Memories video that I did. I am really excited to get this uploaded, and I think you guys are really going to like it. So have a great rest of your week. Leave all your comments about what we talked about tonight below, and I will catch you in a few days. Until next time, peace.